Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Bourbon. I'm John.
I'm James.
And today we're talking about bourbon for the holidays.
Ho ho ho.
It's that time of year, folks. So we're trying to give you a heads up on how to do it right when it comes to bourbon, and we've got a few ideas that might be able to help you out.
Yeah, working at the retail establishment I was at before, and just on the websites and stuff for Facebook, a lot of times we get several questions on gift-giving ideas and what's appropriate bourbon to take to different events, give as a gift, or try to impress someone with. So here are a couple suggestions that me and John came up with for those different scenarios.
Yeah, so he worked at Santa's Bourbon Warehouse and he got the inside scoop. But
Me and the elves.
Absolutely. Tipsy elves, remember that.
Yes.
So for us, we thought, what's a good basis to start with? And as you see, we've got a couple of cocktails here. When you're talking about wintertime, we always like to have a stronger base for a cocktail. So not too much acidic in there. That's more of a refreshing summer cocktail. But what's a good traditional classic cocktail that everybody can get behind? And for us, it was a no-brainer. We landed on the old-fashioned.
Definitely, and we ended up using his favorite everyday house bourbon because it is 100 proof.
Ooh.
Yeah, well, it's 100 proof. It's
Early
strong.
times, bottled and bond. Can't beat it.
And actually, there were 2 sugar cubes in there because I had a quote Perry. I had a Perry pour on that, nice heavy hand, so lots of good bitters, and it's Christmas time. It's gonna get definitely cold here in Kentucky soon, so let's get something to warm us up.
So folks, we'll put this recipe up on our YouTube, but we used actual sugar cubes. You can still find those, believe it or not.
Angostura bitters and...
They were orange.
Yes.
Angostura bitters.
And 2 ounces, which made it nice and strong, 2 ounces of the early times, but the bottle and bond early times. Make sure to use that one, not the other one.
Absolutely. And just crushed ice, because, fancy clear ice is great, and we recommend that, but, just to make it for a party, for a cocktail, it's fine.
If I was going to garnish it at all, at the most, maybe a orange peel. I've never been a fan of cherries and old fashions. Cherries are for Manhattans.
And I think something fun, because we use orange bitters, maybe a lemon peel. Lemon peel is really good. That gives you a little bit of acidity, but...
Or if you want to get fancy, burn it a little, then shrink it around and put it in there.
Express the oils.
Yes.
That's what the bartenders tell us. Yes. Anyway, so we're going to sip on this, and we're going to keep on moving and give you some other ideas. So we thought, bringing bourbon to a party, what would be a good idea for that? There's so many options out there. So James and I thought about, what would be a good, just easy, fine, great drinking bourbon to bring to a party. What'd you come up with, James?
I came up with the bourbon that is expressly designed according to Beyond the Barrel flavor wheel, and Woodford Reserve makes it a point to try and hit as many of those different flavor profiles as they can. So it's a wonderful, easy drinker. It's a good intro bourbon. I dare say probably at least half, if not more, bourbon snobs probably started with Woodford Reserve as their go-to bourbon for a while.
They did, and this is built to stand up in a cocktail, so I think anything with Woodford in the holidays in a cocktail, or just to have a good sipping bourbon at a party that you go to that you don't have to think too hard about it, certainly a great idea.
Yeah, most definitely. No one's going to be ever upset if you're going to pour them a Woodford for free.
All right, well, can't beat that.
Coming from your Brown Foreman family.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I came up with this little ditty right here. As you can see, we've had a few out of this one, but this is the Four Roses Small Batch Select. Kind of a step up from the original small batch. This one's 104 proof, so a little bit higher proof, but that's my preference. And I think it's fun, and for this time of year, it's the first year that it's released. You can find it on the shelf.
I think a big significance is the non-chill filtering versus the regular. That gives it a whole lot more oomph, a little more backbone, definitely fills up the mouth, and you're going to want that during the holidays and during the cold season.
Absolutely, and the mixture of the yeast strains, just again, Four Roses, I could have chose single barrel, I could have just chose regular small batch, and I don't think you could have went wrong, but Just trending now. I mean, something fun that not everybody's probably tried. That's just a solid pour that you can find on the shelf. We would highly recommend this one.
Amen. All day, every day. So, what would you? All right, your office party. You have a
Office
gift
party.
exchange. You pull the name. They ask for bourbon. What are you going to bring?
Well, that's a good question.
Or whiskey.
Yeah, bourbon or whiskey, bring to a party. So a little bit impressive, maybe. Let's see. I'd probably bring them Michter's Sour Mash.
Still even in the box. How fancy is that?
Yeah, so we'll go ahead and open that up. Sealed and everything. So this came from the distillery. You can find it out there. It's got a little bit of a cult following to it.
It is solid.
It's just good presentation, good looking bottle, great pour, and honestly, not super hard to find, kind of hard to find, but again, in the price point, in the $50 range, you can't beat it.
No, Michter's is, if they ask for bourbon, they're going to know that, and they're going to know it's not easy to get, so I don't know anyone who asked for that in a gift exchange would be upset.
Yeah, if you're outside the state of Kentucky, I think it's something to be said that Michter's may not be a household name at that point. Even around here, I think it's hit or miss on who actually knows about the brand and what their different options are. So, again, just kind of a fun one to show up.
Most definitely.
All right, so what do you got, James?
Well, everyone's going to recognize the red wax on the top, but they're not going to recognize that is cask strength version. So we're still going to do with makers and go with something popular, but this is the makers that even non-makers, drinkers, tend to like. People who are bourbon snobs. But doing this blind, I've seen several people actually crow and say that is really a good makers. It kind of gives them a nice curveball. Everyone's going to recognize the bottle, but kind of hard to get, and it's really tasty, which is kind of funny because Bill always championed against foolproof bourbon, and
It's true.
then his son finally made him dig in and get one. And
Thank you, Rob, for that.
amen, because it is, like I said, they're non-makers drinkers really think this is solid stuff.
And I'm going to be honest, I haven't been a big fan of a Maker's Mark. My uncle, for years, he's a lawyer, and he would not pry his hands away from a Maker's bottle if you made him, and I've given him the best stuff on the planet. But that just kind of goes to show that Maker's stands up, and it's a traditional bourbon. It's pretty easy to find, but the cask strength, the barrel strength, I'm telling you, I love it. I think it's delicious. And if you gave up on Maker's because of the first one and you didn't love it, I think it's worth coming back for the full proof.
Most definitely. So, I'm trying to impress my father-in-law. No, that
could be tough.
Yeah, that could be tough. Or your boss who's a bourbon fan. So you got to figure out something special. These are all nice, but something the next level up.
Kick it up a notch, not to steal from Emerald, but if you're in the bourbon game, but how do you kick it up a notch and not break the bank, right?
Amen. My suggestion is
Ooh,
boogers. Now it's affordable. It's under 100, so you're not going to break the bank. This is the last version. The presentation's amazing, and bourbon drinkers know that the juice inside is just as the presentation, if not better. It's uncut, unfiltered, usually pretty close to target proof. And this is actually the third series for this year, because I did ask around and they said this was the best of this year. And why not go with the original guy who started popularizing small batch?
absolutely. 1988, first small batch. So that said, presentation I think is key. Maybe they're not going to drink it. Maybe it's going to be something that's going to sit on their office shelf. But what if they do drink it? And what if you want to blend of both? So I came up with a oldie but goodie. So I came up with just a standard old Blanton's single barrel, which is harder and harder to find nowadays. But presentation, beautiful bottle. You got the horse topper.
Everyone knows the horse.
The finest bourbon in the world comes from a single barrel coined in 1984 by Elmer T. Lee in homage to Albert Bacon Blanton himself. Great story, great bourbon, great bottle. Can't beat it, and it won't break the bank. You just got to be able to find it. So,
Kind of tip, best location is the gift shop, the tour.
yeah.
Before the tour. You can get that every other weekend usually from what I've heard, but you got to get there early and they're going to limit you. So
They
try to
see
do that.
between 2,000 and 3,000 people
Jeez.
a day on the weekend. So, you never know, but your local stores will get some of this. You know, it could be allocated in some states over another. So don't hate us for that. ABC's sometimes not your friend, but in a lot of areas in Kentucky, you can still find it here and there.
And everyone knows it. It's kind of one of the early standard bearers for the whole bourbon explosion.
So I think those are some good suggestions. And so for the holidays, there's a lot of great options out there. These are just some of them. For us, it's about if your friends are pretty into bourbon and they've got some different options, it's always good to kind of know what they have on their bar and what you can bring to surprise them. I think that's always kind of fun.
Because there's always some kind of variation. If they love Four Roses, that's new. If they love Jim Beam, Booker's is the next step up for their products. Your uncle with Makers can't pry his hand away. I wonder what he would think of the gas strength.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also blind tastings this time of year, another great suggestion. Sit down with your friends. It's a good time where you'll have some holiday parties and just to do something fun to add into the mix for some extra merriment, or bourbon merriment, if you will.
And it's always fun to open people's eyes, and I always hated this until they try it blind, and next thing you know, that's going to be their favorite everyday drinker.
Absolutely. And the other thing that we do every year now, it's been kind of a tradition for our Bourbon Society, is a Bourbon Advent Calendar. And so for the holidays, we get together in advance. We've already done it this past weekend, actually. We, prior to getting into heavy December months, or the start of December anyway, we get together and we put 24 different 1-ounce samples of different bourbons. So this year, I did it was all private barrel picks, so different barrel picks in and out of the state, so that's a lot of fun, and so we did 24, then it's dealer's choice on Christmas Day, so you get a 1-ounce pour of something different, something special, and we've had other bourbon societies that we've helped get up and started or reach out to us and just tell us how cool of an idea that is, but...
And anyone who follows me on Facebook know that me and my producer, your producer's in the other room, me and my producer do a live of that every day, going over the different bourbons and have a lot of fun with it.
So you'll see that on our Let's Talk Bourbon Facebook. You better believe that, and probably our Instagram as well. But nonetheless, those are some good tips. We'd love to hear what some of your traditions are with bourbon, even cocktails. I mean, let us know if you've got a cool recipe to share. We'd love to hear from you on that and what some of your choices would be out there, especially with some of the new craft distilleries if you've got something fun. I remember there was a cool Jefferson's wood experiment box that you could get. It was just a couple of years ago for $100, and that was pretty neat to be able to share and try different ones. So I mean, there's a lot of different things out there.
But yeah, next time now when you go to the liquor store, at least you are armed and have some good ideas from a couple bourbon stewards. In fact, you just taught another class here recently.
That's right, I did.
For bourbon stewards.
Certified bourbon stewards. That's right, left and right, they're happening. Well, guys, as always, we love hearing from you. If you like this episode, please like and subscribe above. That really helps us out. It allows us to appreciate you more and present more content in the future. Love to hear any suggestions, ideas that you have. But otherwise, keep drinking more bourbon, and we hope you have a great holiday.
Happy holidays.
Cheers.
Cheers.